Hey everybody, this is herculespetix, founder, curator, docent, and gift shop employee of the herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies. Today we're going to be looking at a very odd piece of comic book history. This isn't really a comic book. The men's magazine Details in August 1992 had this special comic supplement, and I just chopped it out. It's a square bound magazine, so there's no way to take the comics out, pages out, and bind them. But I've saved it all these years because it's got some amazing shit, and I don't think any of or a lot of it hasn't been reprinted anywhere else. So I guess it's a special election issue. They asked all these cartoonists to kind of write about the election or politics in general. But we have a cover by John Kricfalusi of Ren and Stimpy. That's quite a coup. So these aren't stapled or anything. They're just loose pages. Oh, this is so great. We start off with The Ghost of JFK, the most pernicious conspiracy of all. Art by Mac White, written by Bruce Handy and Mac White. This is so good. I fucking love Mac White, the Texas cartoonist. He's been just doing so many stories in various anthologies, 00, Snake Eyes. He was everywhere for a while, and I haven't seen him so much lately. I'm kind of bummed because he's really funny. And we see this guy, Dead Uncle Sam. He's like the crypt keeper, telling this story about JFK's ghost, how it haunted the White House for decades after he was assassinated. I just love this panel of his assassination where it looks like every single person is killing JFK. Even this little kid has a pistol. So, 1966, he's pestering LBJ. And 1973, he's whispering into Nixon's hidden microphone. I love this. 1975, he's tripping Gerald Ford with a cane. The famous time Gerald Ford fell. And he's a year later, he's talking to, or 2 years later, he's talking to Billy Carter. And he's saying, you should be as famous as your brother, causing foment. And in 1984, Ronald Reagan, when he said that famous quote-unquote joke that freaked everyone out, when he said something about Russia, and he said, we begin bombing in 5 minutes. He thought that was funny. And it turns out that was the ghost of JFK fucking with the teleprompter. And he gets George Bush the first to resign. Now that his revenge is completed, he can rest in peace with his fellow spirits. And we see all the famous victims of assassinations. And Dan Quayle is sworn in as president. Well, that's some funny stuff. Dan Clowes, illustrating David Greenberger Duplex Planet page. What would you do if you were president? If you guys don't know the Duplex Planet, it was a fanzine made by this guy, David Greenberger, who worked at a retirement home. He would ask all the guys who lived there, he'd ask them just random questions. Who's your favorite cartoon character? What's your favorite sandwich? And they just have these crazy answers because they're kind of, dotty old men. They're and women. So these guys just give all these crazy answers, this guy says, I'd be the richest man in the world, buy a Cadillac, go over to the Howard Theater, see Mae West. But this is nice getting Dan Clowes in a national magazine. This is before Dan Clowes, was celebrity status. He was just a hot shit cartoonist. Gilbert Hernandez draws this little vignette. It's after the riots. The Rodney King riots, and these two guys are cleaning up, and they're kind of getting this political debate. It's called Say Man. And they're friends, but they definitely have different political views. And they see this kid And this guy's like, hey, that's my TV that was stolen. You're a looter. So he basically says, looters could be shot, but we're going to go easy on you. Your punishment is you're going to help us fix up this mess. So it has a nice ending. Here we have a comic by Kaz. This is a really good little story. It's a prostitute who kind of works the political conventions. It's a great time of year for the prostitutes. All these corrupt politicians, representatives and senators with lots of money, and they think they're above the law, so they all want to get laid, and they'll pay to do it. But she makes this great analogy how, she's kind of a politician herself. She serves the public and is well paid for it. She tells people what they want to hear. She caters to special interests. And she's dressed up as this S&M buddy. It's street level politics, I guess. Some guy honks the horn and says, hey, babe, are you a Republican or a Democrat? And she says, I'm whatever you'd like me to be. It's always nice to see Kaz. Great cartoonist. Here's Jay Rosen. Is it John Rosen? Yeah, Jonathan Rosen. He was just kind of strips like this. I don't even know if you call them comic strips. Just kind of weird little cartoons. And this is just a demolition derby between Clinton and Bush. It's very much like a classic political cartoon. He's pointing out all the things: complicated party platform, inflammatory oration. They call Dan Quayle the boy in the bubble. Yeah, this is very much like a classical political cartoon. Jonathan Rosen has a very unique style. That's all I'll say. Yeah, he's a good artist, but not my cup of tea. We got a Peter Bagge hate comic with Buddy Bradley and friends. Of course, talking about politics. It's called Generation Z instead of Generation X, because these kids don't give a shit. All of them are basically like, I'm not voting. It's stupid. They all have different reasons. Oh, beautiful Drew Friedman. One pager. It's co-written with a guy named K. Bitus. And it's just all these average citizens spouting their stupid political beliefs. But look at that art. Fucking Drew Friedman. Here we have Ivan Velez Jr. doing this one-page strip. And it's a little autobiographical comic how he's remembering when he was a little kid. This is like after MLK was killed. And basically this riot breaks out at this voting station. There's this one drunk lady. I mean, she wasn't always a drunk. It's one of her sons was killed in Vietnam. The other one was killed by a cop. So she starts this riot. And the cop's about to hit this old drunk lady with a billy club. And Ivan Velez's mom hit him with a chair from behind and then ran. So he didn't even know who did it. Ivan Velez Jr., he used to write for Milestone Comics, DC's imprint. But he started off doing independent comic, which I cannot remember the name right now, but it was very gay themed. It's one of the earliest comics, like dealing with gay issues. Here's Christ for President, art by Maurice Velacoop, written by Bruce Handy. And this is Jesus comes back and he runs for president. And he has an amazingly hard time. You'd think it'd be a shoo-in, but no. It's in the near future, so he's running up against Gopher from the Love Boat and Sonny Bono. And Sonny Bono wins. I like how the Jewish voters are uniquely divided. It's a chance to elect the first Jewish president. Yeah, but of all people, him? So these are some of the best indie comic cartoonists at the time. It's pretty amazing the details did this. This is My Own Private Peggy Noonan. Art by Dean Rohrer, written by Jamie Malinowski. And Peggy Noonan, I guess, was a famous speechwriter. And she's advertising this thing where, I'm so good at putting words in a politician's mouth, I can tell you how to talk to women. And, using that kind of politico speech, obfuscation, kind of basically bullshitting. It's how to deal with women. Really good caricature there. Kind of looks like Bewitched there. But this Dean Rohrer guy, I know that name sounds so familiar. I should have looked him up, sorry. But he's pretty good. He's got chops. Oh, this is great. It's a Jimbo comic by Gary Panter. And Gary Panter goes to this a crazy club. And he's watching a band. And this woman catches his eye. Look at this. This is really good, Gary Panter. This is craziness. Just crammed full of imagery. He makes it backstage. And he's chatting them up. But they're like they're almost like the Borg. They all talk at the same time. And they talk in this like cryptic speech. So Jimbo and his friend Zipper travel with the girls through a series of pseudo-realities allied to fan club networks. So they're in the psychedelic country music jamboree. Then they're in the Martin Denny Art Rock Glitter Galleon. This is nuts. And then they ditch Jimbo, and he's heartbroken. Man, what a page. Of course, Gary Panter, the first punk cartoonist. He was another Texan. But I figure you guys probably know Gary Panter. Suffice to say, just look up Jimbo, his Jimbo stuff. We have another page by Kaz. Music of Tomorrow. So this has nothing to do with politics. These are some pretty just funny little gags. In the future, CDs will erase themselves after 2 listens, so you have to buy more music. Jazz musicians will continue to take music to its furthest edges, even beyond what they themselves can comprehend. And this jazz guy is thinking to himself, whoa, what the fuck am I playing? Oh, this is some good stuff. I like this. Narrow casting will be taken to the limit with cults of listeners who will only listen to one note. And this guy's like, the F note is the ultimate. All other notes suck. Fuck that shit. G notes rule. Here we have a beautiful Kyle Baker comic. And it's just making fun of Ross Perot. And, God, look at that character. That is really nice. Kyle Baker's got some fucking chops, man. And this is just nailing how crazy Ross Perot is. But who cares what he's saying? That's some nice art. I almost wish he wasn't saying so much. It's kind of covering up the art. And that's it for the special comic section of Details Magazine, August 1992. That's the early 90s were such a great time. I gotta say, I was a young man in the 90s, early 90s, and, Bill Clinton just got elected. The war in Iraq was over, And also the whole grunge thing was coming up, which also meant like hip stuff was coming up. So this major men's magazine, which is read mostly by, kind of chodly guys and kind of airheaded gay guys. That was the main audience for Details. Just guys who were into fashion and looking good and smelling good. But it was such a time when they thought that this, let's get Gary Panter to draw a comic in our magazine. Dan Clowes, who was not that big then. All these amazing cartoonists. So, a little memento of another time. Since this was such a short deal, I forgot I even had these. But in the back of this, I bagged and boarded that. And in the back, I had, because I used to work at a magazine store, so I had access to lots of magazines. So Artforum for a while was getting various cartoonists to contribute one-page strips. So this is like 1992, the same year. And this Artforum magazine, the hoity-toity fine art magazine. But that's how comic strips were like kind of seen as cool and avant-garde and a la mode. But here we have Peter Bagge at his height. Look at that anger. That's nuts. And we see this artist who's just bitter because nobody likes her stuff. And she's like, oh yeah, nobody likes my art, because I'm not a schmoozer and I'm not pretty and I'm ugly. So she says, I have faith in posterity. Time will be the final judge. And then years later, after she dies, these guys are like, oh, did you hear she died? And they're like, she was never that good. Let's see what else we have here. I totally forgot I had these. It's so weird. Oh, they got Will Eisner to do a strip. We see this painter pouring his heart and soul on this canvas. Probably some kind of abstract action painting. He's spent what he's done. Look at him. Look at Will Eisner, so good at that, body language. And he's at the gallery, and some rich lady's like, she's interested in buying it. She's like, oh, perfect. It matches my drapes. I'll buy it. Of course, the painting is called Heartbreak. Excuse me, sorry about that. Oh, this is nice. Fucking Kim Deitch. So this is just him doing his whole Mishkin saga, kind of summing it up in one image. If you've read a lot of Kim Deitch's stuff, A Shroud for Waldo, all of his, the epic story he's been telling for, 30 years, featuring this animator. And this is a nice symbolic kind of overview of the whole series. He's painting a mural, happily painting this mural of the fantasy land that lives in his head. And Waldo the cat in ghost form is just chilling out next to him. That's some nice stuff. So I don't know if this has ever been reprinted anywhere. I should have kept following these art forums. Who knows what other treasures they had in there. But that's it. Our special Chopped Up Magazine episode. Good luck finding these. I'm sure someone on eBay selling old details. There's probably some weirdos who still want to buy them all. And art forums. So, like I said, in 92, they were doing that Commedia dell'arte featuring comic strips. Okay, I hope you enjoyed it. I did. And I'll see you here next time at the Herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies.